Thank you. Beautiful. So I just wanted to welcome Nicole and the rest of the team that's here. And we have an exciting class. We are recording it because I think this is going to be a very, very exciting class. And there's a lot of information that James, our manager, and Honey, our operations person, is going to be putting together for us here today. So Nicole, thank you for joining us, and I'll leave you with James and Honey. Thank you, guys.
All right. Well, good morning, Nicole, and anybody else that might be joining late.
Morning.
Pretty much discuss a little bit of the best practices when filling out a listing agreement. We're not going to get too much into the weeds of each paragraph. We're just going to go ahead and go over the most important things that I've seen of mistakes that agents have had when they turn in their packages or where certain situations arise, and they're looking to remediate or kind of help their transaction, and then the issues come back to when they initially wrote the contract. And it seems to me that those things could have been avoided if you had a working knowledge, or at least a more intuitive notion as to what the contract is there serving, what's the purpose of it for you. Okay, there we go. All right, so basically what we're going to do is I'm just going to show this. This is what a listing should look like. This is prior to us getting that listing, but I want to talk a little bit about what a listing is. Basically, a listing is a contract for employment. Okay, and that contract for employment is going to define the terms of your employment with the seller. And therefore, you have to be very cognizant of the things that the seller needs from you and how you're going to get paid, and how long this employment is going to last. So we're going to create quickly a contract. Basically, this is what a listing is. We don't know anything about the property. At the beginning, we're in a situation where let me see if I can move this bar out of the way because it's really blocking my, there we go. So this is what it's going to look like. It has a nice pictures, and it has, these are things that you're going to be thinking about, and you're going to be probably selling your client, that so they can go ahead and sign the listing agreement from you, right? So when you get to the point where after you've done your presentation, you're gonna, either you're gonna have a pre-filled contract, or you're gonna have it your laptop there. You're gonna fill it out, or however you work it out is really up to you. But there's a few things that you need to make sure that you do and that you understand as you're filling it out. Okay, so essentially, keeping in mind that that we always have to look at the record. You're in front of a customer, they tell you that they own the property, he and their wife, and then turns out that there might be a third person involved, there might be somebody else, and then so you have to go in and look as to who has the authority to sign that listing agreement. So that's why we have IMAP. You'll find IMAP, you'll find it in your let's see here, hold on for a second. You will find it in your matrix. Okay, so matrix is here, and this is your IMAP. And IMAP is great because it'll give you all the information that you need. So as we start the transaction, we want to start it from scratch. I'm going to start it from scratch so you understand where you can find the document. Okay, so we're going to create a new transaction. Once we have the transaction, we're just going to put a test on it, but you would normally put in the address here, and you want to put the same as the address also up here. That way you can find your files later. If you have like 200 transactions on the MLS like I do, sometimes just knowing that you filed it as with an address rather than your customer's name, it'll be a lot easier, because sometimes you'll have more than one transaction with that customer and you'll be looking and thumbing through several transactions, especially if you've been working on this with your customer for a while. So we're going to hit residential just to define the type, and we're going to go ahead and do a listing. There's going to be a listing agreement. So once we have known, we've already hit our fields and we've defined them, we're going to look for the listing package. Now we're going to look for this condo listings, and then there is also the I think what we had right now is for some reason I don't see the home listing package.
Just go to the next page, page 2.
Oh yeah, okay, two, okay. There you go. Single family listing package. Okay, so you click that, you come to the bottom, you create your transaction based on the information that you type in the beginning, and there you go. Everything is there. In the bottom, right here, you'll see a lot of the internal forms that we might use. Keep those in mind. You'll see the checklist and things like that, that as you are getting further into your file, you'll be able to maybe go through the checklist. It'll help you keep you in track all the documents that you might need, and go one by one. If there's anything that you see or you don't understand, you can always call Hani, or you can call the office, and we'll definitely give you a hand in understanding what you do. But first of all, right now we are here to figure out the listing agreement, right? So we're going to go ahead and click on this right here so we can get to the package. Now, if we go back here, for some reason I didn't see it, but if we go back here, here it is. A lot of, if you want everything to be, as far as the information of the property to be pre-filled for you, at least most of it, and the customer information, you're going to need to come to the IMAP. You're going to go to and copy this PID or property ID, and you're going to bring it to the transaction initial page, and you're going to go ahead and import the data. Right now it's set for MLS, but remember, we don't have an MLS at this point because I'm trying to create one, so it's not going to be there. So we switch it to tax. I think the property was in Miami-Dade, so we're going to put Miami-Dade. We're going to find that here real quick. You click on that, and we will go ahead and paste that parcel ID, and we'll have to look for the, yeah, it popped up. So it means it is in Miami-Dade. So we'll select that property. It does match the property that we're looking for. And then save the information to the transaction. Okay. All right. So I don't want this to turn into a form simplicity class, but I just wanted to get that as where you can get some of the information. Now, you will always verify. The first thing is the buyer and the seller. And we have the buyer and us, the broker. And I did verify the address before we, and the owners before we uploaded the PID onto this, so it does match. And then we're going to have established the buyer seller. Now, sometimes it might be a corporation. So what you'll do is you go to sunbiz.org. And you type in the name of the business, and there'll be a list of either owners or officers of the company. And what you'll do is you'll look at the one name that will stand out. It'll say the authorized person to sign. So you'll see usually it'll be an officer of the company. So now we have established seller and broker. This is going to be pretty important, the authority to sell the property. Now, keep in mind that besides taking a look at that, we have to make sure that everything is filled out. We can't leave anything blank in order to really achieve what we're trying to do, which is a properly filled contract that is going to be at the end, it's not going to be giving you any issues like we've had in just in the past few days. So there was a couple issues I'm going to touch real quickly as we move along. This, the authority to sell property, this is clearly a defined start and end date, right? And it's part of the agreement itself. And this must be filled. You cannot leave it blank. I've seen some agents that sometimes prepare the document and then they run over to get it signed, and then either they forget to fill out that spot, but or they want to come back and fill it by hand, and that is going to be an issue, right? Because if you have a situation where this contract might be contested, pretty much the rule says is that the seller of the property cannot sign anything in this contract until it's fully filled in. No blanks, nothing has been left blank. Otherwise, this agreement could be rendered invalid. And so, don't leave anything blank. So you have to sit down and figure out what the start is and what the ending will be right in front of the customer. And so you figure out, right now we're in the 20th, so 21st, we'll put in today, the 21st. And then this company doesn't have really a rule as to how long a listing should last. So what we want to just make sure is that it gives you enough time to be able to market and sell the property and be able to go through the closing. So that might depend on how the quality of the property, the price of the property, how long you might want to keep it in the MLS. So as a rule, I like to minimum is work with 6 months as a rule. You can do it more, especially if the property is a luxury property over $1 million or whatever. You want to make sure you even get more time, because those properties take a little longer to sell. So I'm going to put until, let's say, the 31st of January. Just because I put in July 21st, it doesn't mean it ends on January 21st. You can put I can put it at the end of the January just to be able to squeeze in more and more time. So we established that you cannot leave this blank. And if you leave it blank, but the rest of the contract everything is done nicely through the computer, but then it appears to be handwritten later on, that is going to be an issue. So, because that will mean is that the customer did not necessarily, sign this contract before everything was filled in and was able to read it. The other thing that we want to make sure is the description of the property. This is something that we need to make sure that is accurate. Not so much the address. Sometimes there's typos in the address, or sometimes, I understand that sometimes you might leave, let's say, something out like the zip code or the state, but we have to be very tidy on this part. But the one area that they must be very, very accurate, because again, you don't have a contract really if there's a mistake in the legal description. This is giving us the authority to sell property. And if there's an issue down the line, this could be an out for somebody, saying, well, they didn't have the right legal description, so therefore you lost the case even before it began. Moving forward, another area where I see that sometimes there could be some issues, and it happened a few months ago, personal property. This is the type where you sit down with the customer and you discuss what do they want to leave and what do they want to take. Maybe they have this very high-end washer and dryer that they want to take with them, or maybe the chandelier that was given to them on their wedding and they can't leave it. Those things have to be talked about, and this is where you're going to fill that out. If the list is too long, just make sure you just click on the attachment and you go ahead and you make a list of the different things. Occupancy. This area, sometimes I've seen it, many times I've seen it left blank when there is there's obviously somebody living in the property, and there is a tenant. So this really talks about whether there is a tenant or not, where there is a lease involved. That can later on affect the sellability of your property if they find out later on that there was a lease involved, or the lease maybe was not provided. So you would put in whether it's yes or no, whether there is a lease. In this case, I'm going to put in no. Just to move forward. Price, that's something else that you cannot leave blank. That has to be established. You already made your case with your CMAs and your listing presentation and everything, so that should match everything here. And we're going to go ahead and just put, let's say, the price that we thought that we were going to sell for. Do we have any questions or so far?
Where you have the legal description, are you also pulling that from IMAP?
Yeah. You see, when I went ahead and uploaded that, it copies the entire legal description and the address. So that's why I like to go ahead and use that. That way I know that there's no mistakes, rather than typing them in. Also, another thing that comes up is sometimes there are mistakes in IMAP regarding the spelling of the names of the sellers. What you do is you upload it the way it shows in the title, which is what they have usually on record on IMAP. So you just copy it. Later on, you let the title company figure out, if they have to correct those names. But as far as we're concerned, we place it the way it is on the record. Okay. So let's say we're going to put in the price, and let's see what price we decided on. Let's say it was 1.385 million. That's a nice little project there. Let's see, this is 1.8. So okay, well, so I tried to model it through that, so it's 1.8 really. It doesn't matter. We get the gist of it. So in here, the finance terms, we need to establish what is it that your customer is willing to accept. So is it just all cash? Is it be conventional? Is it going to be all of these? And this, obviously, this multi-million-dollar or over $1 million property doesn't qualify for VA or FHA. So we just don't put anything there. And then, of course, if there's any assumption of mortgages or anything like that, those are very, very rare. You won't see them. So I'm going to skip over it. Back in the 80s, there used to be a lot of this, but right now I haven't even seen one. If you don't run into something like that, give us a call and we'll walk you through it. But just because of I just want to go over some of the pitfalls that agents get themselves into when they fill out this contract. The seller expenses, I wouldn't do anything here. Right now, the seller expenses is only like if the seller wants to give incentives to buyers to buy the property. Right now, we're not in that type of market, so I wouldn't even consider this at all. Broker obligations just describes what as broker our obligations to the seller are. And then, of course, we talk about multiple listing service. This is something that we need to make sure that we do have we have the ability to use the multiple listing service in the full capacity. Why do I say that? It's because sometimes I've seen some of these things where property doesn't want to display the address, or maybe the seller doesn't want to authorize the broker to display the property in the MLS. All of these things, if you mark any of these things, this is pretty much like trying to box with both your hands tied behind your back, because basically it takes away your marketing power. It takes away a lot of the issues. I mean, a lot of the platforms that you can use to be able to sell the property quickly and at the most effective price possible. But if you ever do get to that situation, these initials have to be filled in here, okay? And that means that you explained to the seller what the what the challenges associated by not letting us do a full listing. Okay, we want to make sure that we're able to do virtual websites because we do, you know, a lot of these virtual websites provide a lot of information for customers, Zillow, Trulia, and they'll have different video technologies, and they have other type of technologies, evaluation technologies, and everything that consumers love to use. So we want to make sure, that's why we want to avoid having them to mark any of this over here. Okay, so so I really don't want to see anybody marking any of these boxes. Seller obligations, basically this is just saying that the seller is, if anybody comes and knocks on the door during the listing and they want more information on the property, or they want to buy the property, that they should cooperate with you and be able to send that customer, give them your card, your information, they can reach you. In other words, do everything possible to help you sell the property. Also giving you the authority to speak to the associations for any permissions, any type of discussions that that might be helpful also. For instance, if they are the FERPTA, if they are, if they're not American citizens, or if they are not residents, they're foreign investors, there's a FERPTA form that they need to sign. Oh, that's going to be here. That needs to be talked about. There's a lot of that going on right now, where a lot of investors are cashing in on their investment, and they live overseas, and they have to pay a tax. So that form needs to be included, because at the closing table, it always comes up when they ask the seller for their IDs and know they can provide it is a foreign passport, and then they say, well, that means you're foreign, so that means we need to withhold tax. So it opens up a huge problem, because that wasn't discussed. And so we need to make sure that you discuss that with your seller. Compensation. We don't have a policy as to how much we should receive or not, but just make sure you get paid appropriately and commensurately to the work that you put in. The work that we do as agents, as a brokerage, is very valuable. If you, I know that there's a lot of times that people want to pay you less, but here you put in what the seller is going to pay the agency, and then in the bottom on number 9 is where we're going to disclose as to how we're going to divide that commission with, if there is another brokerage that brings that brings in the buyer. Excuse me. So normally 6% is what we strive for. If you need to negotiate something down a little bit, that's fine. We don't really care about that too much, as long as you're able to sign your customer. We're not, again, we don't have a policy. The only thing is that we want you to get paid fairly for your work. Let's see what other situations that I have come. Oh yeah. I'm going to leave A, B, and C. You know, I'm going to leave. Well, I'm going to be, actually it's B and C that I'm going to leave. Skip through it. And this is just put in 10% here. It talks about if a customer decides to rent, he's still going to get a commission, or if they decide to put a let's say a lease with an option to buy, you get a cut here. So I usually put about 10% here. If you want to learn a little bit about how those things work, give me a call the office and get my extension. My extension is 301. I'll be happy to discuss anything like that with you. Cooperation and compensation to the brokers. This is where you're going to come in and you're going to decide what you want the other brokers to receive. Just because you got 6% here doesn't mean that you need to give them half. You can give them more if you want, and you can give them more than your share, or you can give them less. But I've done in the past, I say I'm going to give them 2.5 because I have to negotiate. Sometimes I negotiated my commission down a little bit, so I want to make sure to get 3%. So I might do that. So whatever it is, you can negotiate it here, or you can just put it there. It's going to be part of the contract. So the buyer's agents will get 2.5, and I will get 3.5. I've done it many times, and many times people have done it to me. It's just, it's not, it's something that is just, you can decide if that's something that you want to do, but I'm going to leave that up to you. Now, conditional terminate. Okay, now broker relationship is something else that comes up. We are working as a transaction broker. So make sure that the form that you pick up is for a transaction broker. Okay, not with a transaction broker with an option, or a single agent with an option to change into transaction broker or anything. Don't get into those. Those are different listing agreements. What you want is the one that says the exclusive right listing agreement, and that it does not give you the option to do to be a single agent. We are transactions brokers right off the bat, and this is what it tells you right here on number 10, broker relationship. We are acting as a transaction broker, okay? And that'll make it a lot easier. Conditional termination. We've had situations where the deal does not go through. You know, we're not able to find a buyer, or just the sales have fallen apart, and the seller feels discouraged, and so they want to cancel. Well, yeah, okay, it's fine. If they want to remove it from the market, we will do it. But this conditional termination really says broker may agree to conditional terminate the agreement if the broker agrees to conditional termination. Conditional termination is that, okay, we will terminate with certain conditions, and those conditions have to be met. I don't like to see this in zero. If there's a listing that was canceled last week, where it was almost 2.5 months out of the market, the deal fell through, the sale, so there was discouraged, and the person wanted to cancel, you know. So if you leave this blank, all the seller agrees to pay here are the any expenses that you might have had, like maybe photography, maybe you had an open house and you put out some food, or you've paid certain things extra, they can pay that. But if you leave that blank, you know, all they need to do is, they can just go ahead and cancel this, hire another broker, and you're done. There's nothing you can do. So I'd like to see at least maybe, you know, depending on the size of the sale, you can put in, if it's a small deal, if it's a small property, maybe put $1,000. If it's a more high-end property, maybe put in $5,000. In this case, we're just going to put in, let's say, this is a high-end property, so I'm going to put in $5,000. And I also seen situations where the sellers want to maybe cancel, but then when they realize that they have this to pay, they will give you a little more time, or give you more faith in selling the property. You can discuss it a little further. And then, of course, dispute resolution. This basically, you need to, when you fill this out, the seller needs to put the initials here. I've seen it many times. It's being left blank. And the sales associate, you are the sales associate, so you put in your initials here. Every single page needs to be initialed by you and by the seller. Even the last page where the signatures are in. Just because they sign here doesn't mean that they get to leave this blank. You know, and you also initial here, because you are the broker or the representative for the brokers. So you have to also put your initials there. Try to have, you know, send them an email. Make sure that you turn in these documents, because again, if you don't give them copies of these documents, you don't give them the copies, and you really don't, that means that they never had notice, and they can dispute the fact that, you know, you never gave them copies. So therefore, you are not you're not in the position really to be able to fight for the contract, so it's not an enforceable contract. Okay, so do we have any questions so far? Honey, do you know if something that you want me to touch on?
Hi, everyone. This is Kenya Lopez.
Hi, Kenya.
So I have a question, and it goes back to the FERTA, the one that you spoke earlier.
Yeah.
And my question is the following, a little more elaboration, I guess, when it comes to that. When a broker's remark says, buyer be an end user willing to sign the FERTA affidavit at closing, what intakes in that, pretty much?
Okay, so there is an exception in the FERPTA rule. If the property is under 300,000, then you can apply that. If, and that you can probably discuss it with the attorney in the title company, but basically what it's saying is that the buyer is willing to give the affidavit saying that he's going to live in the property for at least 2 years, which is what is required. And that property is for him. It's not for, it's not really for investment purposes. That the property is his and he's going to live there for at least 2 years. And that would be, and if the property sale is less than 300,000, that would exonerate them from having to, the sellers having to pay the taxes because the buyer is assuming the responsibility. Now, purchases over 300,000, that doesn't apply. There is no exception for that.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Mhm. All right, Honey, do you know if I have missed anything that I should discuss?
I believe you went through everything. I don't see that there's any questions. We'll have probably next month a more detailed class on how to fill out the listing agreements. But so far, no questions.
Okay, so basically,
I
yes.
have a quick question. I'm
All right,
sorry,
go ahead.
James. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
The initials, when you're filling out this form with your client, with your computer, you're just typing them in, and then will you be able to automatically email it to them, or how does that work?
So if you have e-sign, you would have that option. Let's see if I can find it here. Let me get out of this. In the bar in Form Simplicity, it'll tell you, see right here, right above the blue bar, there's an e-sign. If you have that missing, it means that you don't have the extended version of Form Simplicity. You'll need to call Form Simplicity and get that optional feature.
Yeah, you can go ahead and upgrade. If you don't have e-sign, you'll have that upgrade button in Form Simplicity. And when you click on it, you'll be able to
Yeah.
sign up there
There's a
as
fee for
well.
it. There's a fee, which is an annual fee, and it's there. I think it's $72.
Yeah.
And then it even gives you unlimited memories or filing space.
Right.
And but anyway, I wanted just to make sure that we understand that the contract, this contract is really an employment, so you have to make it really nice and tight. So you make sure that no mistakes are in it. So that way, not only you are compliant, but you also can get paid. That you have a leg to stand on if you wanted to take this to a legal side. But if you do a contract that is messy or not clear or leaving blank spaces, that is just what a lawyer needs to get their customer out of it. So, and plus it's also for your protection and your customer's protection, everybody's protection, as far as I'm concerned. Okay, so now Heidi's going to talk to you guys a little bit more about the different little issues as to that come up in the MLS. Remember that you only have a small amount of time to fill out your MLS and turn in this document into the company. Don't hold this document for more than 48 hours. You have to turn it in, even if it's not complete, the MLS, turn it in, at least send us the copies, and we little by little might be reminding you as to what you need, but don't hold on to the document. It's not the best practice. All right, honey, I'll leave it up to you right now.
Perfect. Thank you so much, James. Okay, so right now we're gonna go ahead and I'm gonna share my screen. So we're going to get James to share his screen.
Yep. Hold on.
Okay, perfect. Okay, I want to make sure that you can see my PowerPoint.
Yep.
Perfect. Okay, so we're going to go over listings best practices on the MLS. Okay, so we're basically going to go over today some of the things that the do's and don'ts when getting a listing and putting it in the MLS. Okay, so the first thing we're going to go over are the pictures. So when we, get our first listing or whatever listing we get, we want to always make sure that we give the best service to our sellers, correct? So the way that we take our pictures really reflects on the MLS once we upload the pictures if we don't take the correct pictures. I'm giving you here an example of vertical photos. So the difference between vertical photos is the best way that I like to remember it is horizontal. Just like the sun, you want to make sure to take horizontal pictures, but vertical pictures are these right here from up and down when you're holding your camera up to down. So what results in vertical photos, what happens is here we have an example of a high quality photo and a low quality photo. You're going to get the same result. You're going to get a vertical video, which cuts off, as you can see here in the picture with the closets and the floor. You see how big the picture is, but then the video cuts off most of it, so makes it look very small. And I'm going to show you a sample of what that video looks like so that you can get an idea of how it doesn't look as professional. So as you can see here, everything is being cut off. So, and the quality is not very good either. So this is a result of low quality photos. Okay, so we want to try to stay away from these low quality photos and these vertical pictures. Here we have an example of a high quality photo, and this is a horizontal photo. As you can see, he's getting the whole entire room here, and the size of the picture, also the pixels do make a difference. Okay, so we have here 1600 by 1200 pixels, which is a very good size photo to go ahead and upload into the MLS. When your videos are being created, the pictures are coming from the MLS. So it does matter what you put in the MLS. So as you can see, this is a very high quality photo, and you can see here, it results in a high quality video. You see how the picture completely takes up the screen, and you can see the whole entire house. I'm going to go ahead and show you the sample of this high quality video. And I just bear with me with the changing of the screen so you guys can see the videos. So as you can see here, you're getting a better video. It takes up more of the screen, and you can see all the property clearly. It's not faded, it's not pixelated. So we want to always keep this in mind when we're taking pictures of our properties, that we're using the highest setting on our cameras if you're using your cell phone, and that you're taking these horizontal pictures. I know some people sometimes think that they can get more view of, let's say, a bathroom or a kitchen if they take it vertical, but it really at the end does not work out well for these videos that are being produced for you. And now I am showing you the unbranded tours, which these are the ones that are coming up on the MLS, but with every listing you do get your branded tour, so with your information on it as well. So we want to always make sure that we take these videos and these pictures properly so that it can produce a high quality video that you can have for your portfolio when you're trying to get listings and when you're trying to market your property. Any questions so far? Okay.
I just have one regarding the videos and the production of the videos. ERA does produce some really high quality videos from this material, right? Especially that has the ERA branding or unbranding. And the MLS, I know that they do their own as well. So
Yeah, I'll be touching on that as well.
okay, so yeah, there's a way that you can have our, ERA videos go on the MLS rather than the MLS videos that have a different quality, I think.
Okay, perfect. So the next thing that I'm going to go over with you is specifically that what James was talking about. We do have every time you get a listing, you're going to get that social boost email that's going to have your unbranded tour and it's going to have your branded tour. The office automatically will take the unbranded tour and post it into the MLS and replace the tour that the MLS gives you, which is the property panorama one. We will go ahead and replace it with the ERA unbranded tour. But you're not going to get a branded or unbranded tour if you do not take good pictures. The requirements for the FSR ERA video is a minimum of 3 pictures. Now, you never want to put less than 3 pictures in the system. You always want to put as many pictures as possible. Sometimes you might be having a listing that the pictures are not going to be that great because the property itself is a fixer-upper or whatever the case may be. But keep in mind that for the video to be generated by ERA, it has to have a minimum of 3 pictures. And it also has to have a minimum picture size of 640 by 480 pixels. So I'm giving you here an example of, this is a tour, a property that the agent took multiple pictures. She took some horizontal and she took some vertical, but within all these pictures, she uploaded a picture that's very low quality, which is this one right here. So what happened is that they have an error on their video. It says here, 1 or more images are below the minimum requirement of 600 pixels, 640 by 480. So what happens is that because of this picture, the tours are not being generated. So you will have the unbranded error and the branded unprocessed, which means that you're not going to be getting that social boost email with your videos or marketing material because you uploaded a picture that was too low quality for the video to generate. So this just goes to show how important it is that you take high quality, good pictures and you upload them to the MLS so that your marketing material is generated and your tours are generated. Otherwise, you're just going to get the property panorama video that the MLS gives you. And if you see them, the quality is not good. It doesn't have, the company colors. And it just doesn't look as professional as one of your FSR ERA videos. So we want to stay away from vertical pictures and we want to stay away from low quality pictures. Okay. And also keep in mind that when you upload a listing into the MLS and you want it to go on the market right away, but you don't have the pictures uploaded, the video is not going to generate. Now the system does check every so often when you put in the picture. So if 2 or 3 days later you upload more than 3 pictures, the video will generate. But if you take a couple, a week, let's say, to upload more pictures, then it's going to take just as long for you to get that marketing material out. Okay. So try to get your pictures as soon as you can. And whenever possible, get the pictures professionally done. There's many companies out there that will do the pictures professionally for you so that it looks good for your portfolio. And I am going to give you a few suggestions here as to the contact to get professional pictures. Here you see, oops, I think I might have skipped a screen. Okay, no, we did the high quality. Okay, I do want to show you. Yes, here we go. These here are some real estate company, real estate professional photographers that you can actually call, and you can actually look them up on the internet. VHT Studios is a company I've worked with before. They're very good. They service Miami and Broward. Then you have a few here that I found on the internet. And then if you want to jot down this information, this is recommended by one of our agents that does listings, and he gets his pictures professionally done by this person. So remember, when you get them professionally done, there's a lot of companies out there that'll do some drone shots. They'll do, give you some high quality photos, or anything that you really want to get done. As you can see this beautiful picture on the screen here. I mean, they just can enhance the colors and everything to make it look fantastic. This property here is a distinctive property, which it's a program that we have that if the price qualifies within the zip code, the property qualifies to be in the distinctive program, which then that property gets advertised on Wall Street Journal, Rob Report, and it gets its own website. But again, if your property is within the price range, but your photos are not of high quality, they will not accept the property to be distinctive. So pictures are important. So we always want to make sure that we take our time and, if possible, invest some money into getting them professionally done. Any questions? And if you didn't get this information, I can go ahead and, give me a call, and I can go ahead and give it to you or email it to you later on. Now we're going to go into the MLS remarks. So the MLS remarks, do's and don'ts. First and foremost, I want to make sure that you know that when you go to Miami RE, all the MLS rules and regulations are listed in Miami RE. So if you ever want to read them, they're very long, but you can go ahead and always get them from there and download them. But this is just an example here of do's and don'ts. So when we're putting in our MLS remarks, the girls that put in the listings for you, that they activate your listings, we do check the remarks most times and make sure that, that they're good, that you don't have anything in there that you shouldn't have. But, of course, sometimes we can overlook something. So we want to make sure that you know and are clear on the things that you can and cannot put on MLS remarks. Remember, MLS remarks goes out to the public so people can see that. So one of the things that you don't want to ever do, which it is an MLS violation, that they will send you an email with a fine. You don't ever want to put your information. So as you can see here where it says, please contact listing agent for more details, you cannot put that. You cannot put a phone number for yourself, and you cannot put an email or website for yourself on the MLS remarks. Okay, so that is a no-no. You cannot do that. You will get a violation from the board. Also, you don't want to ever put, there's certain words you're not allowed to put in the MLS. And again, there's so many of them. You have to check on the website for the rules. But I know for a fact, one of them is you don't want to ever put perfect home for a family, because this discriminates against people who maybe don't have a family and they're just buying the property for themselves. So these are little things that that MLS looks for. They kind of like police, and they look in there and to make sure that you're not violating any of their rules. So you want to stay away from putting things like that, or putting anything, like when it comes to the neighborhood, being too descriptive about the neighborhood. You want to be careful there as well. What you do want to do is you want to put as much information about the property. Tell a story if you can. Some of us are good at writing, some of us are not, but the best thing you can do is always talk the most about the property. Give the description as much as you can. You got a lot of room there to put information about the property. So put as much as you can, and just make sure to stay away from those keywords that you're not allowed to put in the MLS. And if you're ever in doubt, please let us know and we can help you. If you don't know how to write the information, or you're not good at it, we can definitely help you before posting the listing in the MLS, okay? Here's some of the stuff that I've taken from the actual Miami RE board. As you can see here, data integrity. These are the things that you will get fined for, okay? So when we're putting in a listing, we want to make sure that you're putting in the right information from the tax roll, okay? So you don't want to ever manipulate the zip code because you feel that maybe a certain zip code is more desirable than another, so you're changing the zip code on there. That is a violation. The folio number is obviously, you want to have the correct folio number, but most times what some people in the past have done and gotten in some serious trouble for doing is changing the area because they want to have it in a more desirable area so that the listing is picked up by more agents. So we want to make sure that that information always matches the tax roll. So you don't want to change that. The address, the city, the county, property type, all of that has to be correct. Because if you don't put it in there correctly, you will get a fine. One thing that you never want to do when putting in a listing is manipulate the square footage. The square footage that auto-populates from the tax roll cannot be changed. So if you change it, you're going to find yourself in a difficult situation, and you're going to put us in a difficult situation as well, because we cannot submit the listing. It will not let us submit it. So then we have to, write to the board and have them fix it. So if you feel that the square footage is incorrect because the tax roll is not reflecting the actual square footage because they've made an addition to the property, you can put those notes into the remarks, but you don't want to touch the square footage on the actual data input form, okay? Make sure that you don't do that. Also, as we went over here, placing URLs, showing instructions, open house information, access codes, lockbox combination, commission and bonus information, contact information, all this stuff is stuff that you cannot put in the remarks, okay? So we don't want to do these things. Make sure that you look at these MLS rules on your own time, because again, there are many of them, but they are available on their website, okay? And here is their website. If you guys, what I can do is I can, send it to you as well. I'm going to put it on the chat before we log off so that you guys can copy it if you want to, okay? So the next thing that I want you to do is, if you have any questions, go ahead and unmute yourself and let me know if you have any questions. But I do invite you to follow us on social media. This is where you'll be able to see your listings when they're advertised. Whenever we get new listings, we post them on our Facebook, we post them on our Instagram, and we post them, the videos are on our YouTube channel as well. Okay, so I want to make sure that you guys go onto these social media outlets so that you can see your listings and you can let your sellers know that we are advertising your property. Okay. So that's pretty much it for my part. I just wanted to go over just the key things with you so that you know exactly what to look for when you're putting in a listing. So unless you have any questions, I'll go ahead and stop sharing my screen. And if you have any questions for me or for James, please let us know. No questions?
Looks like we did such a good job that we left them completely speechless.
Yeah, I see. I'm gonna go ahead and put, because I do want you guys to like our YouTube. So I'm gonna go ahead and put it in the chat, okay? The link so that you guys can go straight to it. Because if you search for First Service Realty on YouTube, unfortunately, there's an old account that we don't have access to. So we want to make sure that you guys subscribe to our new one so that you are being up to date with all of our new listings. They are, being advertised there. And our trainings are also on there, as well as our website. So if you want to see any of our trainings, you can go onto the FSR website. And you can also go onto YouTube to look for some of these videos.
Fantastic. So we did pretty good time. We did a very good time. Unless there is no other questions, I guess we're going to say goodbye. But definitely, one thing I just want to leave with you guys, when you're filling out that contract, whether it's a purchase contract or a listing contract, any doubts, any issues that you might come across, give us a call. It's very easy just to pick up the phone and have them dial my extension. and I will be happy to go into the minutia. I wanted to keep it a little light today and not get too much into the legal jargon, but if there's any other questions regarding that, feel free to call me. And definitely anything technical, we have the lady right there. Hani, she'll definitely get you, all the answers that you need very, very quickly. So I want to say goodbye to everybody. Probably see you next
Yeah.
week.
I wanted to just really quick before we hang up here with the class, I wanted just to remind you guys that we have more trainings on the calendar. Today at 3 o'clock, we have an ERA social media tool class. That would be good if you guys can review it. It's really good. And then, join us next week. James and Eddie will probably be going over the contract, sale contract addendums. Okay. And please join us next week on the 28th at 11. We're going to have a special class, which is going to be talking about our new platform that's coming in September, which is Moxie. So if you want to get all the information about all this new platform that we're getting, it's going to be really exciting stuff we're going to have going on starting in September. A lot more tools for you guys to use to market your listings and get more buyers and more sellers. So I invite you to join us next week, okay?
If we can't join you on the 28th, what would be the next date that you would be going over that new platform?
Okay, so I don't know yet for the next month, but next month in August, we're going to be launching all the different trainings because Moxie is going to have different trainings because it has about 4 different platforms that they're going to offer. So each one is going to have its own training. So don't worry about it. Basically, next week is just an overview, okay, of what the program is going to be, the platform, because it's a platform with different tools. So if you can't make it, we'll probably record it and I will be sending out emails to you guys with more information about what the different platforms have, okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, guys, thank you so much. Have a fantastic weekend and rest of the day.
You guys too. Thank you for all the information.